Awesome, guys. So today we have another business consultation. You guys know we did two of these with Sheldon in the past, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago before the holidays. And in the beginning, it was just a background on Sheldon, why he wanted to get into dog training, a little bit of his methodology into training his own dogs, volunteering at the shelter. He's doing TWC starting next week. So there's some of that training stuff. Then we got into the business side. And the reason we record these is whether you're an aspiring trainer, experienced trainer, or your business is floundering and you're looking, how can I get more leads? How can I get more experience? Whatever it is, hopefully you take out some value from these conversations. They're candid, they're unedited, and I enjoy them a lot. So without further ado, I'll kick it off to Sheldon. And what he's going to do here is catch you guys up on what's happened in his world the last 30 days from both the training side and how he's thinking about business.
Well, thanks for having me again, Andrew. I'm always excited to talk to you. I got a million. All I think about is dogs. It's dogs every day. And so anyone who will listen to me gets gets attacked with dog talk, which is pretty much everyone around here, thankfully. But I've been here in Sisters for 8 weeks, and a lot has happened. Most of my time has been spent volunteering at the rescue just outside of town. We're down to 16 dogs. I brought one second. There they go. Hey.
Dogs bark. That's all right, Sheldon. Don't sweat it.
All right. Crisis averted. So
is that one of your shelter dogs?
Biggest news is I adopted Macho.
Oh, awesome, man.
So Macho is a German Shepherd Malinois mix.
He's gorgeous.
He's really quite the dog. So I'm going to be training him as my psychiatric service animal. And that's the big news. He's been here just over 2 weeks. So today's day 16, I believe. So that's.
Are you grayscale or is he that light? He's like, that's awesome, man.
He's really got a light sable coat. Come here, Tama.
Sheldon, can I ask a stupid question? Because I'm candid. I mean, maybe too honest. Before touching Toma, if you want Toma to stop, why don't you just tell him to stop at the very least?
I did when I stepped away from the camera. I give him a stop, but
he's allowed to well, he's not allowed to disobey, but he can disobey. But at least you got to tell him to stop, right? Because if you rewind this 3 minutes in, you were just petting on him.
Usually that's what calms him down the fastest with the barking. And I'm not really opposed to him alerting when he hears something, if it's someone nearby. But I try to get him to settle down pretty quickly. What do you think about that? How do you think, in general, if I keep the windows closed, there's not enough noise coming in the apartments for the dogs to alert in general? And the bark session, that was a long one because someone was right outside the window. But how would you handle the barking here in the apartment?
So I'm always candid with my clients. I think of you as a client, even though we're virtual, because when people pay you money, you have to be honest. I have no problem with dogs doing anything they want to do. So barking is one of those things. I have a problem with dogs not complying when you or someone that's valuable in that dog's life asks them to do something. So that's why I said, if you want him to stop, I would say either stop or enough. And then I would see if he would stop. And then there would be a consequence if he didn't. So he could bark his head off for hours. And if I didn't say anything, I wouldn't care. But if he barked and I told him to stop and he ignored that, the consequence would come because of his ignoring me, not because of the barking.
I understand. And what would you use as the consequence? Let's say that I let him do like 2-3 barks. He interrupted the call like he did. And I wanted to shut that down in the next 10 seconds.
The easiest...
So I say enough is what I use for that. And then he'll probably stop for 2-3 seconds and then start going again. What kind of correction would you give?
The easiest thing would be an e-collar. It would just be tap. Yeah. And then you'd have to decide, and TWC would teach you this. Is it negative reinforcement or is it punishment? So if it's enough and he just ignores you, it would be tap. If this was negative reinforcement, tap, he stopped barking, the pressure goes away. So he learns that the way to actually escape and then avoid the pressure is just complying to the enough in the first place. Because if he doesn't, there's going to be pressure in aversive. Now, when he knew what enough meant, right, because negative reinforcement is actually a teaching tool. So enough, if he doesn't know it yet well enough, I would do what I just said. teach him what enough meant. And I would use the pressure, whether that's an e-collar or the leash. And when he stopped, the pressure goes away. If you're at a red light, the light turns green, somebody honks at you, you start moving, the honking goes away. That's negative reinforcement. However, if he knew what enough was and then he persisted, I would say no. I would give the correction, whether with the e-collar or with the leash. And even if he stopped barking, I would bring him aside and I would say, no, I told you not to bark. I said enough. You non-complied or you disobeyed me. Now we're having a conversation because I know what enough means. So enough teaching is negative reinforcement. The punishment is positive punishment, and maybe even a negative punishment of putting him away in a crate, removing him away from you, could be moves. I find punishments a lot more difficult than negative reinforcement. Negative reinforcement is enough pressure, you stop, the pressure goes away.
Right. Well, I'm going to give that a try next time. It's I think that the reason I'm not currently stopping him immediately from the barking is like because I've had failure because my punishment wasn't enough to actually stop the behavior, right? And so I was just at a loss on what to do other than what always works is I tell them it's okay. They're allowed to be there. That's what I say. We're okay. And then I get them to settle down with giving him a sit and maybe a down command and giving him some pets. And that's usually what ends it the quickest. That's what I've been doing. But as you can see, he was way over the top here a few minutes ago.
Sheldon, what you're going to love is what you do is basically what 80% of my clients do as well. So when they're faced with an obstacle, they typically revert to obedience, right? They talk to the dog, it's okay, and then they'll put him in a sit or down or place. I think you're a very studious person. TWC is going to be phenomenal for you. It's going to be amazing because they're going to you're going to watch this video in 3 months when you're going through the lesson on TWC where they talk about negative reinforcement and then punishment. And it's going to be a light bulb moment. You're going to think back to when your boy Toma was barking and you put him in obedience, and you're going to understand from a dog psychology why that doesn't work.
Cool. I'm stoked. So that's the next piece of big news, right? So I decided to enroll for January.
Smart man.
I just got access to the pre-course materials yesterday. So I get to go through his play series, basically, that he sells separately. It's all inclusive. So I got about 10 hours of material to get through. And I can already tell these are the kinds of videos where I'm going to want to watch them more than once, many times. So it's good that I have access to the material for a year and then onward. If I decide to keep paying the annual fee, it's real low. And then the next thing that happened is I met another TWC trainer who just got their certification in the last one, who's a local here.
That's awesome.
I have an ally.
If you guys remember last time, sorry to cut you off, Sheldon, we were looking on the TWC website to see if there were local trainers from TWC where Sheldon lives. So that's crazy that in the last 4 weeks you met them and one popped up. So that's awesome.
And it's really good to know that I'm going to have someone to work alongside that has the same knowledge here in town, because there's just going to be too much going on. Yeah. You'll see my business plan here, and you'll see that I have to choose my battles. I'm going to have to choose my battles kind of strategically. So that's kind of the last update here is I'm planning to launch the business hopefully in April is what I'm hoping to get the facility maybe a month beforehand to do a very basic build out. And so let's dive into it. I'll give you the whole overview. So Sisters, for context, have you ever been to a coastal town where there's a bunch of shops and there's the beach and everyone's walking around? That's how Sisters feels, but it's on a highway between two major cities in Oregon. And it's at the base of the mountains pass between the two.
It's a shelter, right? It's a rescue and a shelter?
No, Sisters, Oregon, the city, the town I live in.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the town. So there's a highway that goes down the middle. Everyone slows down to 20. There's a couple roundabouts, and then there's candy shops and cowboy shops, and maybe a total of 10, 12 square blocks. So just another couple minutes away from that, walking, there's some light industrial facilities that are opening up with some vacancy. And what I realized is, Tama, Stop. Hey. No.
Sheldon,
What's up?
you'll rewatch that, and I have a pity. So this come from the heart. What you did there was fantastic. Even though you used all three words, stop, enough, and no, right there, you could tell that word interrupted it because of how your tone was.
Hey.
You could let that go because you're not going to fix it right now. Just your tone was Toma, stop. It was clear. It was concise. It interrupted his behavior. Now, if he's not wearing an e-collar, there are other ways. There's spatial pressure. I don't know if you've ever seen Cesar Millan. He does like the little poke in the side.
The rib poke.
If he's wearing a collar, it could be that.
That's why I didn't give him a on his flat collar, but that's about
every
it.
Every dog is unique, right? And I don't know your relationship with your dogs. It's hard to give advice, but if you go back and watch this is minute 12, your Toma stop interrupted him. It definitely interrupted him. And with pitties, they're so emotional. They're so sensitive to their owners. Sometimes tone and spatial pressure is enough for the pitties.
And Macho is extremely receptive to verbal feedback.
Dude, that's a cool dog, Macho. That would be my dog that I would, like if I were you, I would practice most of your TWC stuff on him.
Oh, yeah. I got plans for Macho. Trust me. He's going to be the circus dog that I get to show off to everybody, right? But more than that, I was working with a lot of really good dogs over there. But he really was the most attached to me. I'm prepared to let the dogs go. That's the goal, right? But him in particular, he becomes so attached to me. And then I really have the need for this I'm going to do for him. But that's a different conversation.
Shepherd Mal mix, right? What a cool mix, man. I've heard only good things about that mix.
He's really something. And
go ahead, take me through the business stuff.
So here's the plan. There's sort of three revenue streams planned. Number one will be the training facility will have evening guided play sessions with owner attendance mandatory. Depending on the size of the space, this will be maybe 5-10 dogs at a time. And this will be going from 5 to 8 p.m. on weeknights. And that'll be a monthly service, a monthly subscription. One of the ideas is to have a 2-tier membership. So the base tier is the guided play sessions only. And then the premium tier, stop. What's happening is he stops and then the noise comes back again and then he's going again.
I'm aware. I have one of these dogs. I get it.
Yeah, you get it. So the premium service will include access to treadmills, dog treadmill, slat mill, a person treadmill. Once a week, I'm going to do group classes, not with dogs present, but just for people is kind of the idea I have, where I'm demonstrating basic leash handling skills, basically just like safety course. I do want a 4-week cycle. Everyone can come through that, dog safety stuff and basic skills. And then also access to red light therapy devices and some other, the sky's the limit in terms of equipment that I get for the premium people, right? Where they can come in during business hours, scan your card to get in the gym. Then you can use the play area to train your dog if you want to inside. Maybe it's too hot. Maybe it's a winter storm, whatever. You can use the treadmills, red lamp, like the brush kit, whatever it is, right?
Can I ask a few questions? Yeah. Is this going to be solely run by you or do you have a business partner?
This will just be me for the first year is my goal.
Have you found a space already that accommodates this or are you going to start looking?
So I am touring one this afternoon. Okay. And one other one. I basically, the first two I'm touring, I chose the nicest one I think I can afford and the smallest space, right?
Share with me what your overhead for this space will be.
So the lowest it would be $1,500 a month plus the utility payments. Okay. And the highest would be $3,000 per month plus the
You could find a place that accommodates all this for $3,000 a month. Wow, that's amazing.
It's indoor only. I'm not going to have an outdoor area, but it's walking distance from National Forest. Wow. Just go straight back to walk. It's really something. Surrounded by $800,000 plus homes. So I'm very optimistic about the idea here is so there's the base membership, the premium membership, And then the next income driver will be my behavioral modification program, for which I will take only one dog at a time. I'm taking one dog at a time, and it will be no overnight boarding. I'm not offering any overnight boarding this year. So this will be drop off in the morning, pick up in the evening. And if anytime that you, a handler, can come join me in training sessions, they're invited to come. So that'll be a 1 week minimum. And I'm going to price that at the highest rates I can get is the plan. And that will be the premium service. And then the third thing will be a pro shop. So this will be retail for basically dog trainers and serious pet owners with professional grade gear. Not the kind of stuff you get at Petco or from the feed store down the street. I'm not trying to compete with anything like that, but just the high-end hand-selected small brands where I have a small inventory in stock.
Sure.
So that's the
Sheldon,
3 models. Yep.
let's have some fun here. This is cool because you've thought about this clearly. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
So you've thought about this quite a bit. Let me not necessarily poke some holes in the sense that I think this is actually a really cool model. So you have retail, you have group classes, and then you have one, hey, your dog is really in trouble. Let me help him, right? So, and you have 2 different types of membership, base and premium. Cool. Super cool. And you're like, red light therapy helps the dogs. Group classes helps the dog and the owner. Retail, everyone needs some supplies for their dogs. This is in a great part of town. Overhead's relatively low. All cool stuff. No questions asked. Here's where I'm going to not push back, but let's have a Q&A, right? First question, when do you feel that you're going to be done with TWC in the sense that you feel confident that 98 out of 100 dogs that come through your program will have success?
I don't have an answer to that because I don't have the experience to say what those 2 dogs are going to look like that I have to reject. Maybe it's
That's not what I'm asking.
9 out of 10, right?
Do you think that TWC will be, your course material will be completed, but the goal is not to even complete the material. The goal is for you to implement the material and actually know it well enough to teach people?
By April, May.
Cool. Let's assume that to be true. What are you going to do when you get a behavior modification case, which is a challenging dog, and you're going to have to work with clients from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., but they're going to get there at 4:30, 4:15, so you're going to have to check them in. They're going to have questions, and they're going to stay past 8 p.m. and also have questions. So between 4 and 9, you're going to be booked. That's 5 hours. What's your behavior modification case going to do?
So the idea is that the handler will pick up the dog before or around the time that it starts. So maybe I got to push it back to 5 o'clock. I do 5 to 8 instead of 4 to 8. Right? That's the idea.
So morning, you deal with running the business, training the one dog, the behavior modification case,
Yep.
sourcing retail, balancing the books, doing marketing, doing advertising. That's the morning. And then 5 p.m. to the end of the night, you're running these group classes that are play driven for the dog and the owner.
That's right.
Cool. Do you feel confident that you can handle 10 dogs in a group play session?
Yeah.
What makes you say that?
Because I've been doing it at the rescue. So I think that I'm going to be full-time at the rescue. I'm going to be making a donation to actually get a proper place where I can record video and get it set up exactly the way I want. But I'm going to be working with the dogs every day from all the way through the course here. And so I think that this is one of the places where I'm apprehensive, though, because I need to be getting more experience introducing new dogs and getting a sense of what your dog is going to fit in with this group, or your dog needs some training, maybe 1 week with me before it's going to be ready to do that. Right? I have to be able to draw that line with people and make it clear why. So that is going to be a matter. I need more experience doing exactly that. In the meantime, and also when I launch the business, I'm planning to integrate dogs gradually, right? I think that you take one new dog at a time in general to integrate with the pack, and I plan to do it the same way. So There's a couple neighbor dogs I've helped. People are very interested in what I'm going to be offering, including one. It's a pit bull that when it gets overexcited during play, the teeth can come out, right? So I've been gradually doing play sessions with this dog and maintaining verbal control as practice. But this is something that I need more experience in. Long story short.
Have you considered doing 2 group sessions, 5 to 6:15, and then 6:30 to 7:45?
So I took a course there's a nonprofit, I don't remember the name, out of Australia. And what they do is they do group play sessions. They train shelter staff on how to manage group play sessions for high volume shelters, 100 dogs plus. They split the dogs into 4 groups by play style. They got their chillers, dogs that just kind of hang out, they don't really want to play, but they like to sniff each other and get treats or whatever. Then they got the dogs that like to play chase. And then they got the dogs that like to play tackle, wrestle, like the pit bulls. And then they have one that's mixed between the chase and tackle if you got enough dogs. So I could break it down that way, but my concern is that I want accessibility. My goal is accessibility for community members for this membership. So I don't want it to be a stressor for people to plan which time am I going to show up. I wanted people to be able to just drop in and whenever they finish their chores or run into Walmart or work or whatever. So I have conflicting thoughts about this, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do. If it's going to be one group where there's a queue system, every dog gets guaranteed 30 minutes of time. You can stay longer if there's no other dogs. Or if it's going to be, you got a schedule for one of the 3 slots, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and have different types of dogs in each group. So I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on this. This is one of the main things I want to ask about.
So it's funny. So we were talking about TWC. And when I thought you meant group play session I thought you meant the owner individually plays with their own dog, whether that's chase or tug. But I think what you're describing is the dogs are playing with each other.
Yes. This is for dogs to socialize with each other.
Why do you want to do that, out of curiosity?
So as I've gotten to know the community members in this area, there's a distrust of trainers. The rates are extremely high.
Okay.
And I would say 7 out of 10 dogs that I hear about or that I've met that are in isolation, right? Where the owners are afraid the dog is going to lunge at people, or it's super reactive to other dogs on walks, this kind of stuff, or it's destroying, chewing stuff up when they're at work in the house, right? These kinds of behavioral issues that are, from my perspective, easy to resolve. I think most of those cases will just resolve themselves if the dogs socialize and play on a regular basis. And I think that's the way I can have the biggest impact on the community here is by getting these dogs into a social setting routinely, as well as the people. Everyone tells me it's hard to find things to do. The bars close early even, right? It's a small town. Everything closes at 5 on weekdays in general. And people are like, I need friends.
Okay.
Sisters is tough because I can't make friends here. So I'm really trying to meet the social needs of the whole community with this service.
This is cool. I enjoy this. I'm leaning in for this too. So when you do social media and I guess what people see versus reality, you try to be as honest with them as you can, but they don't see the full picture. So here's how I would do it if I were you. And this is what no one sees with me. So you see my Facebook and Instagram, you see a lot of dogs interacting, right? The thing is, before I allow for that interaction, there is some training involved. Yes. And typically that training is threefold. They need to be able to recall off leash, right? They need to be able to come when they're called, and that's twofold. They need to know the command of come to me, but they also need to know what happens when they don't. The marker is what I call it. You can't blow me off. So that's number one. Number two, they need to be able to have some semblance of impulse control. And I do that in downstays, place, and crates, just like some semblance of impulse control. Now, what I would do with you is before they can get access to these play groups, they have to go through 1 or 2 weeks of basic day training with you. Meaning, so if to get into that play group, they could come anytime. It would be the unlimited membership. Sheldon needs to know without a shadow of a doubt that every single dog there, except for maybe one dog who's on a drag line, who's on a leash still,
is a balanced dog. Those dogs will create the vibe. Because if you have all these new dogs come in with full energy, full gas tanks, dragging their owners into your facility, there are going to be fights, there are going to be disagreements, it's going to be chaos. So they can drag the owners in. No one, that's fine. The owners are going to be the owners. But Sheldon needs to have a relationship with these dogs so that when that dog comes in hella crazy, you say, hey, enough. And you settle that dog down before you allow for interactions. Because oftentimes people do this. They will say, this dog's aggressive or this dog's not aggressive. This dog's reactive or this dog's not reactive. But the reality is the energy that the dog enters a new environment in is typically what causes the behavior. So you can have chill dogs that become aggressive just because they came into an environment that they're so used to having adrenaline in. That's why daycares don't work. And it's fine to have that adrenaline as long as Sheldon can manage the adrenaline because he's put in the work behind the scenes training that dog. Does that make sense?
It does. And I think what you're getting at is an idea I've considered, which is an onboarding process, right? Or onboarding fee, right? You got a one-time fee up front. And I have to work that into my business model to accommodate doing this onboarding for people. So what do you realistically feel like your average dog's a little bit too excited? Imagine you got like a young friendly pit bull or you got like a young friendly lab, and I need to establish this kind of relationship with them with an onboarding fee and some training. But just chuck some ideas out there. What would that look like?
It could be like $1,200, and in 10 days, I would train the dog to be off leash. I would train the dog to have impulse control, which means it could. Have I told you about J. Jack's windows, the 4 windows theory?
I've heard this on your other podcasts. Yes.
Awesome. So this is crucial. This is so important. So everyone thinks of place command, and a place command is cool, or a down command, cool. But the 4 windows are this: ready. That's like, let's say, I think you have beautiful hills by your house. Or sprinting up that hill with Toma. Ready, you push him, and you're doing something really exciting with him. Or you say ready and Toma, and you hold out a tug toy and he bites it. Cool. Go full blast. Ready is like, we're about to do something super fun together. You and I are playing laser tag or dodgeball. Make sense? Free. Toma, you can be excited and run around the nature and do whatever you want. You could go chase a rabbit for all I care. I know you want to pet on Toma. Make sense?
Yep.
But here's the key. Enough. The same thing I just told you. Enough isn't a place command. Enough is a mindset. So if you get a dog that comes into your daycare and it's balls off the wall, starts hurting dogs or starts like chasing dogs, and it's like you could see it's way too excited, way too stimulated. Have you seen dogs like this?
Every day. I've got 2 of them.
Awesome. Enough is the term, the command, whatever you want to call it, that I tell my dogs in those packs that no one sees when I say, dude, enough. That is not what we're doing right now. You are way too hyped up. That is what needs to be taught. So you need to teach a dog recall. You need to teach the dog enough, which I think of enough as impulse control. You're able to go from peak excited to chill to back to excited very easily. I think that's one of the most misunderstood things in dog training is like trainers will put a dog on place, but the dog is still cracked out on place. You have to change this. And the windows enough is a good way to do that. And TWC will teach it through play, right? So you're playing really rough with Toma. You say out, and then you say enough. We're all done is, I think, how they call it. And now Toma has to go from like, holy crap to feeling how he could settle himself down, right? And then the last window is obedience or commands, which most people know. So in that onboarding program, I would teach create place, but I would teach enough mostly. I would teach recall. And then without the owners there, maybe 2, 3, or 4 days, I would socialize the dogs with your dogs. And if that dog is chill or good in that social setting, if it's able to go from peak arousal back down to calm, it knows some commands and it knows recall, the dog's onboarded, and now they could pop in and out anytime they want for the play groups. But you've already given your stamp of approval saying, I can control this dog in any state of arousal, which is the most important part of dog training, in my opinion.
I really like this plan, Andrew. And
the 4 windows are crucial, man.
All day. all day I'm using this with these two and with the rescue dogs. And
Can I tell you how I test it, Sheldon, too?
yeah, let's hear. When do you know?
Let's say you go through the onboarding process. You taught all those things, and then you have this play group, and Toma loves this cute golden retriever, Rosie. He loves playing with her, right? I will pull Toma out of the play group after he's had fun, not in the beginning, after he's had fun, and just put him in a down 20 feet away and just see if he could watch the other dogs play and be calm. Make sense?
That's I like that. I really like that because there's no hiding anything in that situation. There's nothing unclear. Well, the dog is facing its favorite thing, right? And it was just going. He wants to go back, but if it trusts me and it listens to me, it respects me, that we got that relationship. And going back to Caesar, I've been watching Caesar lately. The emotions of the dog are reaching a point of being settled and calm rather than apprehensive for the next round of play. Then that's a very clear, to me, a black and white thing that I'm not going to be able to mistake. And it's going to be very clear to explain to the clients too, right? Well, if you think your dog is ready and doesn't need any training before we join, what we can do is we can do this test. You can come in with my dogs and then we can see if it can handle coming out of play or not, right? So it's very clear whether that's at the end of my onboarding process, I demonstrate this to the handler as the part of what I'm giving them into return for the fee, right? Is you got the recall, you got the verbal control, some basic obedience and this emotional settling, and then demonstrating that to the client at the end of the 7 days, 10 days, whatever it is I take the dogs. So I really like this idea.
It's not a punishment, by the way. This is a really big key. I do this with my dogs. And what the reward at the end of the tunnel is, for my pit bull, it's to bite a tug toy. For my retriever, it's to chase a ball. What I want to see from my dogs is this concept of, please do this because I said so. It will always end up in your best interest. And I'm not going to necessarily feed you rewards for this either. I'm just asking you to do this because we live a cooperative life and I got to do some other stuff. And I do this with every dog I have. And I need you to chill out for a minute. Show me you can do that. Because the more you show me that you can do that, the more I could trust you at liberty and not have to micromanage your movements. So it's not a punishment, but it is a little bit of a test for you. And what I'm trying to get through to them psychologically is that we're in this relationship together and you're doing this for me. You will see that this ends up in your best interest. So I don't need you when you're in a down, as soon as I free you, to blast into that play group and just start harassing dogs with a ton of excitement. That means you didn't understand the assignment. But if you're in there down, chilling out, and then I free you and you go and see your friends again in a calm manner and then you start playing, that's what I'm looking for.
Interesting. So apprehension has to be so far settled that when the dog is given the free command, it's not party time out of the gate. That's more of a challenge, in my opinion.
For sure, because some dogs are going to go there in a down because they've learned down, but they're going to bark in your face.
And they're just going to be like, I can imagine literally all the dogs I work with at the shelter. The rescue at this point are like that. I'm just introducing place command to them last week. So
this is the issue with this is what TWCC is going to teach you. I guarantee this is in their material because I see all their trainers do this and I understand why I've had a few of them on the podcast. And let's use the doorbell example or people come into the house example. A lot of trainers teach place, right? They'll say, tell your dog to go to place. But the emotions of the dog don't change on place. So the dog is still anticipating, so excited, so aroused. They're just holding this position. As soon as they get off of it, all of that frustrated energy is coming out into the person who just walked in the front door. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for you to hold it down. I'm looking for you as the dog to manage your emotions better. And that's what you need to have great play groups, great peer groups. I think that's what you need for having a good dog is a dog that can manage its emotions well, to go from aroused to calm back to aroused.
So when I'm
so excited for you to do TWC. I think it's going to be great. I think there's going to be real science theory and also practical of how you teach this stuff.
It was really hard to decide on which cult to join, frankly. And
what others were you considering?
the International School of Dog Trainers, I think is what it's called, out in North Carolina. It's like a 6-month in-person, and it's about the same cost as the TWC cert. You have to provide housing down there, but they have specialized trainers every month that are instructors for every month. They do basic obedience and dog training theory, and then it goes to search and rescue, psychiatric surveillance animals, police canine, like the gambit of like all these different specializations for 6 months. And like I would love to go do that even later, but I realized with what I want to specialize in and what's really in alignment with the way I like to work with my dogs is the way Yvonne does things.
Yeah.
Like, it was really his case study on Tina. Have you seen the Tina case study?
The
Malinois?
That wouldn't play?
No, the severe OCD case. Yeah, there's a before and after video on YouTube, about 10 minutes a piece. It got this dog off the streets of Miami. Somehow someone picked her up before she got hit. And the dog is like happening around it. It shows it's chasing raindrops, and then it goes for the water fountain, and then it's going for stuff in the ground. And then when I saw the video at first, I was like, what is OCD in a dog? Like, what does that look like? And it's literally like everything, stimulus is like off. And it has no concept of who the people are, doesn't respond to its name, it's like gun in the house. It's jumping at the ceiling fan and licking the floors until someone makes it stop. Like, it'll go as long as it wants. Anyways, Yvonne was able to resolve this in like 6 months. It was a very serious case. That really inspired me that I didn't find him Matt Welch, honestly. Like, the kinds of dogs that he works with, I think, are the hardest in the world, frankly. Like these fight ring rescue dogs, uses bait dogs, or we're killing other dogs. Most of his clients are those kinds of dogs. And to be able to truly resolve aggression, genetic and trained aggression in a rescue dog, I've never seen anyone else that can do that, with that kind of stuff. I'm sure they're out there, but I saw the way Matt does things. I knew that this was like for me. So that's my pitch. I'm not trying to tell anyone what other important, I think, for like people to think about if you're getting into this, like finding whatever training ideology, whatever techniques, whoever aligns with you and the way you want to do things is what's important. It's not necessarily you got to go to Yvonne. Could be that you really resonate with something else. So for me, it just happens to be that.
So you have retail, which we could talk about retail a different day, but like you have the behavior mod, which
Just thought about like basically going to cover your overhead. Like no way your behavior mod is going to be less, $3,000. So you have a behavior mod that covers basically your entire overhead for the facility, not the build out, but the rent. And then you have 2 memberships. What are you thinking of pricing those memberships at, and what's included?
Well, so here's my vision. This is my dream. So I want the base membership to be as accessible as possible to the people who are struggling in this community, because the locals here have been displaced by coming in like me.
God.
And yeah, because like I was going to be one of those tech bros, like we're from home, making enough money to pay like for a house, getting services from everyone that's working, their small businesses down the road here. Is like,
okay,
I know what it's like to be in that position, and want to have an impact on the dogs and the community here. And frankly, this town's small enough that I think there's like a certain critical mass that will reach where like the majority of dogs are just like you get along with and not reactive, and like hang out at the dog parks. They're building a dog park in town, I think, this summer. Like, impact on people there, right? Like I want it to be as widespread. I want to make this as cheap as possible to cover the base expenses. Let's say I had 30 members at $100 a month, right? That's our lowest.
Okay.
That's like, then I'm covering the $3,000 to rent the facility, right? Month over month.
How many members? 30 at $100 a month?
Yeah, or we could do 20 at 150 or 30 at 150, right? I think no more than 200 is my idea.
But so forget the number of members just for a second, because that we don't know. $100 a month. What is included in that?
Just the group
play sessions, 5 to 8, Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
Play sessions. So they're basically paying $5 a play session.
We can break this down, because I could restrict, X number of passes per month for the base rate, maybe 10 per month, 3 per week, something like that. There's some options there to keep it affordable. I've thought about that, but really want to encourage people to come as often as they can. I don't really want people to be nickel and diming to be like, oh, I only need 2 days a week, so I'm going to get this cheaper pass. And then when the dog shows up, it's going to be like, hasn't seen its friends a week or longer, right? That's going to be a bad situation. So I'm thinking one rate for unlimited and keeping that as affordable as possible. We stick with my idea of the behavioral modification program, which I think we actually need to think about more. Maybe I ditch this for the first year. Going back to that vision, like behavioral modification program, I would be pricing as high as I can, be competitive with the local board and trains, right? Probably priced higher because I plan to only take one dog at a time. So kind of the vision. So my salary is basically coming from the behavioral modification program, the overhead on the facility is coming through the membership, and then the retail is going to be, I think it's kind of an unknown at this point. It could be a good revenue generator. 3,000.
If you don't lose money on retail, you'll be happy because you're going to buy a bunch of inventory first.
Yeah.
So Wolf and Groom, share your thoughts on them. What do they do well? What do they do poorly?
Central Wolf and Groom, there's 4 groomers here in town, and I've met a couple of them, and I'm like, how much to like Groom Macho? And they're like, I'm not taking any new clients because I have too,
But tell me about the day boarding, the dog boarding side of it, because
I haven't been there.
Okay.
I haven't met anybody. Everyone who I've spoken to who's taken their dogs there has not been.
Okay, I would take your dog there, or just go there on your own and just check it out.
Okay.
For pure, not like to steal their stuff or any of that, like to see what they have going on. So, for example, I just went to their Instagram and they have 7 followers and 1 post from March 27th. So, like, I'd be curious, on with them. What are they doing well? Like, I do a little bit of research, especially given the fact that only doggy daycare that came up.
Yeah.
Unless are there other daycares?
No, that's the only one, and everything else is 30 plus minutes away. But they're really a daycare, right? I'm not going to be watching dogs. The handlers, have to be present during the group play sessions. And I'm not taking dogs I'm not babysitting dogs. That's not interesting.
Is that when you think of daycare, you think of babysitting dogs?
Yeah.
Okay, we called it a dog school. Is that still babysitting dogs?
No, but then your rates are going to be much higher than. I bet that place charges $30 a day or less. You're
charging $5 a day, but your rate's $5 a day. It's just $100 for a month, and there's 20 days a month.
I'm not watching the dog for the full day, right? You get to come in for minutes or an hour during this window. And it's a lot more affordable. I could price this. It could be priced higher, right? That's not really the point, though. I'm not trying to maximize revenue on that side. But I could go to 200. I think, price that.
Why I asked that, Sheldon, isn't about the price. I'm thinking about what's the value prop. Like, what are you? Sometimes in business, we get so caught up in what are we selling, what the price is. We don't think about what are people buying. So it's a little bit different thinking about what you're going to sell and what you're pricing it at than what are people buying and what do they need.
I love this question, Andrew, because my favorite podcast that you've published so far, and I forget the man's name, but he runs the school on dog training business, right? And he was talking about dog trainers don't sell training, they sell emotions. Dog trainers sell emotions. And so what I'm selling is you get to see your dog that, you may not have thought it could play with other dogs, maybe 1 or 2 others, right? Playing with all the dogs. And you get to make friends and hang out in this cool space and be with the dogs and meet other members of the community for yourself, right? It's a third space. You're familiar with this term, third space? What I'm creating is a third space for community members here in Sisters. And the foremost what I want the business to be.
I love the idea. I would give you a few tweaks that I would do. One, I wouldn't make it mandatory for the owners to stay. I would
Okay.
incentivize them to stay. I would love to have the owners be a part of it and meet, but I like if the owner has to stay. So if I could just take one step back,
Yeah.
why do my clients come here? So is it for their dogs being trained? Yeah, I mean to say their dogs are better when they leave than when they got here. I'll give that, if out of 5, I'd say a 3 or 4. But
Yeah.
really, I think what they enjoy is their dog coming home fulfilled and happy, tired, and learn something. So it got to spend the day with friends in nature. You can see that the person that's running it is diligent, that he makes sure that there's no fights, that the dogs are off leash and reliable. They're not running away. They get home safe, and the dog comes home, lays on the couch, and it's happy and fulfilled. And I'm selling my clients back their day, time, right? Because now they don't have to walk the dog. They don't have to exercise the dog. They don't have to feel the guilt of entertaining the dog. They might play on the couch and throw the ball a little bit, but they don't need I'm selling my client their day back, right? Because if they're busy and then they get home, they still have to make sure the dog is fulfilled, right? Everyone has that guilt feeling, or just about most people have that feeling of like, I take my dog for a walk. I got to take him to the park. I want to do something for my dog. I'm taking away the guilt and selling them their time back. So now there's only one daycare, and I don't like the word daycare, but daycare in Sisters. Here comes Sheldon, who's a trainer. He's not creating a daycare. He's creating a day school where you can drop your dog off and pick them up. You could drop them off in the morning, pick them up at 8 p.m. You could figure out the times. It's up to you. The dog's going to get professional training. He's going to be with his friends. He's going to be chaperoned by an experienced trainer from one of the best programs in the world. And I, as the owner, can come by and watch. I could come by and play with the dog. I could come by and ask Sheldon questions. I could be a part of it as much or as little as I want. But now I have an alternative to a doggy daycare that there's not too much competition in this city. I would do that, and I would have clients drop their dogs off at 8 or 9 a.m., and then you could cap it at 5, 6, 7 p.m. if you want.
Yeah. Concern with that, Andrew, is there's two things. So number one, in terms of how I want to spend my time, I don't want to spend my day with other people's dogs. Like I spend the time training my dogs and
Sheldon, you're starting a business.
I know, but just bear with me here.
Okay.
But I do want to spend time with one other dog. I want to be giving all of my attention to one dog to get it through something serious that other people around here can't fix.
Okay.
And that's that to be my focus of my mind and my time as much as possible. Now, the evening play sessions, if the hours will be limited, like that will be limited so that I can separate these two things and have a good break, have these two things separated in terms of my rate. I with my client dog and working my dogs for the day. And then I have people showing up to do the small group play sessions. And that's that I have, because I really want to focus my attention on one at a time. The thing is, I know it's hard to tell just kind of on maps at the last second here, but there's a number of luxury day boarding people around here. And extremely competitive because people have large properties that they've inherited from family, or they take the dogs out. They have vans and they take them on river trips. And industry. If you look up pack walk trainers on Facebook, there's like a pack walk people that operate in Central Oregon. So with them and having like 5 at a time, that's right. But why would you take your dog to like a facility when you could just take them out into a better place? Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I can't really compete with it. And then I guess there's 3 things. The third thing is like be excluding a large group of people who don't have the income to support the rates that I have to charge to only have 5, 6 dogs at a time and having them all day, right? So maybe it's not contradictory. Instead of the behavioral modification program, and this is what I want to get to. So maybe we axe the behavioral modification program for the first year. And that's what
you want to do. Sheldon, that's your, like, the reason my business became successful is I really just want to walk in nature with dogs, and the pack grew. So if your desire is to truly just help behavior modification dogs, like really big issues that no one else can help with, I would focus on that. Because what you said, and we have to be honest, and we have to build a business for the future, right? Like we business for the next 1, 2, 3, 5 years, not for just today. You're like, I don't want to spend my day babysitting dogs, right? Your words.
That's right.
And then you said, I want to help dogs, and why I'm doing TWC that other trainers can't help. Your words.
That's right.
Cool. Andrew just really wanted to do walk with dogs in nature, run with dogs. So I built a business around it and then added sprinkles on top to make the business better. But the core was the pack walks, right? But for you, you're like, dude, I don't want to handle all those dogs all day. I just want to train one dog and help it out.
Yeah.
So there it is. That becomes your niche, and you just hammer that home and don't even worry about the group sessions, because by all accounts, you're saying they're going to throw you off. They're going to be something that isn't as enjoyable as the one thing that you truly want to do.
I think it's a little bit of a miscommunication on my side, so I apologize. So my is helping as many dogs around here as I can. Like I want handlers, and I want their dogs to be able to go places and feel safe and having fun together, rather than the situation that I see, which is like a disaster, frankly, around here.
Sure.
In terms of reactivity. It's bad. And This town's small enough, I know I can have an impact if I put my mind to it. So the way I came up with to help the most number of people is the group play sessions, and that's my top priority for that reason. In terms of how, another thing that I want to do, right, is this behavioral modification. However, the reason I'm kind of brainstorming here with you on this is like maybe we take that out of the picture for the first years, because this concept of an onboarding fee, and rather than taking behavioral cases, I spend the first year doing onboarding, getting a solid group of dogs, like the first 30 dogs. This is like maybe a 5-day program. You drop your dog off in the morning, and then you pick it up, you come hang out during the play session at night, and you go home. And I do that for the first year until I got a solid crew. I get more experience, and then behavioral will buy a wave. There's no doubt about that. There's going to be behavioral cases, but my priority will be getting the process. Do you like this idea? What are you thinking about this?
I love it so much. It's literally the posted on YouTube, which is old model versus new model. And on my website, there's these packages, right? I think you've seen them, but I'll there's mentor dog and there's new dog and mentor dog. Have you seen these?
Right. Yes.
So I have like a gym membership model. So like for new members, it's like $19 a month, and then it goes to $100 a month, right?
Yeah.
Like the first 3 months we'll give you a discount, and then for every month after that you pay a premium, which to me is like kind of backwards. It incentivizes loyalty. So what I did was I created a new dog program, which is the onboarding program, which is where I teach the dog the basics. I teach him a negative reinforcement marker, you want to call it. I teach him recall. I teach him impulse control, like a command, a down command, just enough, like the bit that we've been talking about, and teach him how to sleep in a crate, and I bring them around different dogs and I socialize them. So socialization, impulse control, recall, with a little bit of sprinkles blended in. Once your dog meets those criteria, for me, it typically takes 10 sessions for a really well-balanced dog, and up to 30 sessions. So 10 to 30 sessions. It goes to a mentor dog, and I cut their price in half. So I love the onboarding, because there's a great saying this is like psychology pricing. It's the bigger the head, the longer the tail. So up front, they pay a big sum to get this onboarding, a big sum relative to what's coming. So, hey, I teach your dog the basics here, the recall, the impulse control, and the socialization. Sheldon will teach the dog that. Sheldon, the TWC certified trainer, went through the best school in the world. Teach these 3 things. And once your dog graduates from that, the life of that dog, it gets really discounted pricing. So if you want to stay in my program and just join the group sessions for the future, your price is going to be significantly lower than a new dog coming in, because for Sheldon, that's a lot less work. That's a lot less headache to manage, because I've already trained that dog. That dog's just going to come here, have fun, go run its energy out, and go home. So I love the onboarding.
I think this is it, dude. I think we're really getting somewhere with this. So let's into the mechanics of this, and then I got one more big question before we finish up. So, I'm just ideas out there right now, spur of the moment. So one would be to integrate one dog at a time in the pack, and you get 5-day program where you drop it off at 9, you pick it up at 4 or during the group play session time, right? And you have a flat onboarding fee, like $1,200 price I come up with, right? And then it includes maybe a couple months of membership. I don't know. I take one at a time, right? The other would be I start my workday at 1, and I have open slots available for 30-minute sessions for onboarding clients where then you show up for your 30-minute session. I work with you and the dog and make progress until your dog is ready to join the group. And the test, I'll have an exam that every dog has to pass, right? With some of the concepts we discussed earlier. So that would be another way to handle it. And I really like both ideas. Do you have any other ideas?
I would do both.
Okay.
So let me explain. One is I'll do it for you, right? Right, the first one. Like drop your dog off, pick it up. Sheldon does the work for you, right? That would be my premium option.
Okay.
This option would be I'll do it for you or I'll do it with you. Cheaper option. But with you, a good amount of the responsibility falls on who?
The client.
Awesome. So here's what's going to happen. And I would have both options listed, and I would give both options during the sales process. You'll have clients come. The dog that you have that I'll do it for you will be calmly relaxing somewhere near you, right? It'll be kind of in a room. And the client will bring in their cracked out dog. And you've probably already done 4 sessions. And she'll be like, I'm just not getting it. Like, it's not working, right? And you'll say, look, it works. There's a dog that came in with the same exact symptoms as the dog you have. This is what 4 days with Sheldon looks like. This is what 7 days with Sheldon looks like. This is why I gave you both options. It's not that the recipe doesn't work. It's that it takes effort and time, right? So you're paying me not for the knowledge. I told you everything that you needed to know. And this isn't even my advice. This is advice from one of the greatest trainers in the world, Ivan. This is how we train dogs. But the advice isn't the key. It's the work. So if you want, you can enroll your dog instead of doing the private sessions with me. You could just start dropping it off in the morning and I'll start doing the heavy lifting for you. So what's the coolest part about this, Sheldon, is the dogs that come in for your onboarding that work with you become demo dogs to sell future customers.
Hell yeah. Yeah. And I have a whole town of these things. They're literally going to be walking everywhere with my gear on.
I think that's the attitude, man, because what I really dislike about this industry is the trainers who still have misbehaved dogs that keep marketing services. And for me, look, we're all trying to be the best that we can. There's no doubt about that. Most of the trainers I've met are trying to be good trainers. Yeah. But if you're a trainer and you take on clients and you say, I'm going to help you with reactivity, or I do behavior mod, but your dog still is reactive on a leash and you don't know how to control that, that's disingenuous. So when new clients come in here and I bring out my pack of dogs who aren't my dogs, this is client dogs. These are dogs that came in with bite histories, with reactivity and stuff. And I could organize them in my backyard and put a few on the table. A few are out of command. Those are the sales pitch. Does that make sense? I know it's subtle, but that's such 100%. A big deal.
It makes perfect sense.
So and when people call, I say, before you sign up with any trainer, me included, come to their facility and see how their dogs behave. If their dogs don't behave the way that your dog to behave, don't sign up for that trainer.
It sounds so obvious, right? But it's like people got to hear that. It's quite the state of affairs. So the last thing I want to talk about is the Kickstarter. Cool. So I could, on my own, I could independently start a small facility, minimal build out, get it going by myself. But I know enough people around here, and they're all excited about what we've been talking about. Like everyone in on this that I've spoken to. And so I'm thinking to offer a one-time discount pre-sale. I'll never offer discounts again. And the pre-sale, I had all these ideas for different tiers and offerings and blah, blah, blah. I think now that we're honed in on the onboarding process, we have like one or two offers. So, and the only difference would be you get the base membership or you get the premium membership. So that would be, you get onboarding and you get 3 months membership for a discounted price of what it would normally cost. And that would be the pre-sale. Ideally, I booked out with 30 people at launch. I think it's very realistic that I could do that even without running ads. Like around, it's all word of mouth. Maybe I run ads. We could talk about that some other time, but we get $30,000, right? Something like that. And I'm booked for the first 3 months of launching the facility, which is totally fine. And I'm not going to have income, prepaid during that time, but I'm getting more people coming in and blah, blah, blah. That will allow me to get a better space and more equipment. And I think that's what I want to do. So do you have any, and then the other, if we narrow it down to those, then there's a higher price if you want the premium subscription where you can come use the facility or whatever. So that's my idea for the Kickstarter. I had like a bunch of tiers and stuff in mind with behavioral mod and all this stuff, but now that we're honed in on this, what's your perspective on this? How would you tweak things?
The goal is to be booked out before you open, and Kickstarter was the solution for that. Right?
Yeah, the goal is so I can secure a larger facility, and nicer equipment when I start.
I mean, it's a good idea to pre-sell.
Yeah, and I think it's going to give a lot of confidence to property managers. I'm talking to them like, hey, I already have pre-registered or whatever it ends up being, even if it's 15. It really, I think it's. How would you have any tweaks to the Kickstarter? Any ideas or this?
I mean, it's the right idea. I've done it, but this guy, his name's Alex Hermosi, and I would use like a GP and read his books about this. $100 Million Leads is probably the right book. $100 Million Offers. He has 3 books. Alex Hermosi. He used to do. He would call it gym launches, Sheldon. And he would go out to gyms who are flailing, who are struggling, and but relaunch them with at capacity. He would get people signed up and excited for the launch, right? Yeah. So on day 1 of opening, you're not trying to find customers. You're already serving customers, right?
Yeah.
Read his stuff. I would use Gemini or ChatGPT to distill it down for how this would apply to your model. Right, like this is my service. This is my pricing. These are my membership options. How would I use $100 million leads, $100 million offers to do what Alex did in the gym space for the dog training space? I think it's brilliant. I just can't give any tactical advice because I've never done it. I understand why you would do it. I think it's move to come into day 1 with revenue already on the books. It's 100% the right move. It's just not easy.
Well, that's what I need to hear, Andrew. I'm very confident in launching this thing and talking to you, especially this twist that we made, right, from the behavioral modification for the first year to just focusing on onboarding. This simplifies a lot for me, and I think that it also, all this is very helpful just to hear that you think that it's a good idea, honestly, as someone I respect a lot, who's got a good business going.
I'll tell you something that's going to come of this, and I got to bounce after this, and we could do a call, obviously. So I like to get out of the vague and get into the specifics. So a lot of dog trainers say, I will train your dog, right? Send me your dog for board and train. I'll train your dog. I think that's so vague. Because after meeting with so many clients, they ask, what does that mean? What does training my dog mean? Versus, I will teach your dog how to come when it's called. I will teach it how to use an e-collar. So come when it's called, e-collar condition. I will teach the dog how to have impulse control in any environment. And I will socialize that dog with different dogs, people, and different environments. That is a specific deliverable, right?
Yeah.
Very clear.
A lot of work, but yeah.
It's actually not. You'll see. It's very systematic and replicable because it's clear. You do this as an engineer, you understand that. Yeah. It becomes a system. Now, what happens is 80 to 90% of dogs, and Larry Crone said this, not me. I asked him, if you could teach a dog to be calm in the house and come when it's called, how many behavior problems will go away? He said 95. So 80 to 90% of dogs will fall into that category where most of their problems will go away with just those few things. Okay? Come when called, e-collar trained, impulse control, place command, down, whatever, some commands, and then socialized. Now, you'll get some dogs that are so far gone, you'll get behavior modification, okay? Naturally, a dog will come for an evaluation. You'll say, I can't do this in 5 to 10 days. You're going to have to pay my behavior modification rate, which is a lot higher because this dog has so many issues. So you will get dogs that come in for onboarding evaluations that can only be with you for 4 to 6 weeks because they're so far gone. Make sense?
Yeah.
You'll naturally, it's called an upsell. You'll naturally upsell behavior mod because you get this dog in 10 days. It's a really difficult case. This dog is reactive. It has 5 bites on its record. You know what I mean? So you'll get behavior modification cases naturally from that.
Cool. Yeah. Well, much for the help. There's details we can talk about in the next call, and I'll let you know what I cook up, and I'm really excited. Really think it's going to pop off.
I'm excited for you to start TWC, man. I'm following your journey, and I'm very excited for you, man.
All right. Thanks so much, Andrew.